Alice is a political revenge thriller that ably showcases the issue of slavery and how it affected American society during the 1970s. The two main characters here are used to show the two sides of slavery, the oppressing and the oppressed, which ultimately leads to a vengeful yet cathartic ending. The film also manipulates the emotions involved in a way to add to the story's arc. This is what makes Krystin Linden's film worth watching. It's 1973, and Paul Bennett, Jonny Lee Miller, has kept a number of enslaved people at his house. One day, lovers Alice, Keke Palmer, and Joseph, Gaius Charles, both enslaved domestics, decide to flee. But unfortunately, Joseph is shot and is apparently dead, whereas Alice's outburst and attack make Paul tie her to a stake on the ground outside the house. The next day, Alice manages to wound Paul and escape into a world that she knows absolutely nothing about. She is brought home by Frank, who helps her understand the world she is in. Here's where Alice realizes that slavery is extinct, but her family is still working as domestics under Paul. Ultimately, she decides to take revenge on Paul and free her family. She arrives at the house along with Frank, where she confronts Paul and ties him to the stake on the ground, thereby taking her revenge. She is also overwhelmed to find out that Joseph is, in fact, not dead but alive. And it is made clear that they will live happily ever after. Mr. Paul, the owner. Mr. Paul plays an important role in establishing not just Alice's character but the presence of slavery and the unjust treatment that the black people of America received during the second half of the 20th century. Paul knows that Joseph and Alice love each other. This is something he clearly doesn't like, and he does what's in his power to keep them away from each other. He decides to get Joseph married to another woman. Ultimately, it seems that Joseph is killed while he tries to escape with her. Alice is caught beforehand, while Joseph is shot by Paul's assistant, Aaron. Does Mr. Paul feel pain because Alice is crying for Joseph? Sure enough, sometime later, he does confess that he likes her. It is surreal how a person can evoke hatred and affection simultaneously. The Zippo lighter. The lighter that Joseph discovered in the grave is the same lighter that Alice uses to burn down the jungle. This lighter, in all probability, symbolizes freedom. The man Joseph's grandfather came across, who gifted him the lighter, was apparently killed by Paul and buried nearby. This symbolizes how Joseph's grandfather was kept from the fire of freedom. This also relates to something that Paul mentions to Alice towards the end of the film: "I just never told them that they could go." However, she is the one who comes into possession of the lighter, possibly from Joseph's pocket, and, at the end of the film, sets ablaze the place where she served as an enslaved person along with her family, thus ushering in freedom. We know that Alice, along with her family, lover, and others, was tortured by Paul and his family. He also kept them all in the dark about the fact that they were legally free, and nobody had the right to keep them as domestics. Thus, when she escapes and finds out about slavery and its abolishment, she decides to take revenge on Paul and free her family. In the final scene of the film, we see Alice shoot Paul in the legs and leave him the way he once left her, i.e., tied to a stake in the ground. Clearly, it is her revenge that made her do this. But the question is, can we judge her for her revenge? Does all the suffering that she and her family have endured for so many years allow her to point a gun at Paul? In judging her, we might judge ourselves too. But the fact that she doesn't kill Paul provides us with the catharsis that tells us that she is genuinely good at heart. Perhaps this is why she gets the love of her life, Joseph, back. The film is rightfully named after the protagonist, as she is both the subject and the morality of the film. If you've enjoyed today's video, then please like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Thank you.